Okay. The assassination of conservative commentator Charlie Kirk has rocked the political landscape of America. If his death has you grieving, if it has you in mourning, then you should reconsider watching this video. It may trigger you. Because I'm here to tell you that the murder of Charlie Kirk invokes a principle of greater value and import than anyone's life, greater than the value of his human life, greater in value and import than the trauma of his family who witnessed the death of this husband and father. You may be asking, is this principle the lives of all the hundreds of innocent people, including school children, who've been slaughtered by gun violence in America, a country with insufficient gun laws? No. I'm talking about a principle that is of greater value and import than all of those lives put together. I'm talking about the foundation of liberal democracy in a nation of over 350 million people and their descendants to come. Democracy, which is upon which both our liberty and our security depend. It is liberal democracy that separates the United States from these other countries. Throughout history, and even today, these other countries where the people who live there live under the constant threat of being dragged away or killed for criticizing or disagreeing with the people in charge, whether those people are an army of the warlord who took over at gunpoint, or some mafia who rules from the shadows, threatening any leader who steps out of line, or a mob of thugs who look over our shoulder while we vote, or even a majority political party who floods the airwaves with propaganda and arrests dissidents who speak out against them in order to maintain their ideological grip on the minds of the majority. Liberal democracy, folks. This is what separates us from countries ruled by people like that. Liberal democracy starts with voting, of course, but it also requires institutions to protect the freedom of the few or the individual to dissent, to challenge, to run for office against the majority, to run against that long-time incumbent, to speak your truth into a microphone, and to walk into a polling booth without fear. Hate speech, saying something hateful, is not illegal in this country. Our laws do not restrict that unless that speech is evidence of some other crime. That's America. Like if some loudmouth were to say that the death of Charlie Kirk was a wonderful thing, we might want to ask this person some questions to make sure they're not planning a murder of their own. But, I mean, if that was it, just this cynical celebration of death and nothing more, that loudmouth walks free. Even celebrating the trauma of his family is not a crime here in America because, as Charlie Kirk himself said, hate speech is not a crime. Even the celebration of hundreds of innocent children in a school massacre would not be a crime in America. Barbaric, yes. Hateful, obviously. You might lose all of your sponsors. You might lose all of your friends. You might get fired. You might get canceled. But, and let's face it, you might have some officers keeping their eye on you for a while after celebrating a school shooting, but you can't be arrested for saying hateful things in an adult public forum. And the reason for this is simple. Reasonable people are going to disagree on many things, if not most things. And we just cannot trust anyone with the power and the authority to decide the value of other people's ideas. This principle affects every American alive and generations to come. It's way bigger than Charlie Kirk, or how nice a guy he was, or how truthful he was, or what a deceitful jerk he may have been. What matters is that he was a prominent political heavyweight, and for some egomaniacal, self-righteous rifleman to kill him for his ideas is supremely offensive to me, and not because I liked Charlie Kirk. Nor is it because his life is any more valuable than the hundreds of other shooting victims in America whose names I don't even know. The reason is because a shot fired at a word slinger like Charlie Kirk as punishment for his ideas is a shot fired at the bedrock of liberal democracy. It is a shot fired at the United States of America. At me. At you. At the thousands of heroes who have bled and died to make America free and to keep it that way. A few days after the assassination of Charlie Kirk, the federal government, or more specifically the Trump administration, or more specifically Trump's appointed head of the Federal Communications Commission, the FCC, threatened a major TV network with hard consequences if they did not restrain one of their late-night talk show hosts, a comedian named Jimmy Kimmel. And the very next day, Kimmel was yanked off the air by the broadcast affiliates, by the stations. Kimmel was in hot water because of a comment that he had made. He said that the MAGA crowd didn't want anyone thinking that the assassin was one of them, meaning a Trump supporter. So was Kimmel affirmatively saying that the assassination was a Trump supporter? The Trump administration definitely took it that way. News media indicates that the assassin was raised in a Christian, conservative, Republican, MAGA household, but had more recently spent his time in left-wing circles. Maybe Kimmel was blaming the parents for the crimes of the son. I don't know. And I'm sure that Charlie Kirk would not have agreed with the comment that he made. But the question I want to ask is, would Charlie Kirk have cried out for the federal government to use its power of authority to remove Kimmel from the air over this statement? And I don't necessarily know the answer to that question, but he would have been a bit of a hypocrite if he did. And if you don't see that, you're just ignoring the data. You're ignoring the things that Charlie Kirk typed and said into the microphone. Like when some right-wing conspiracy theorist broke into the home of Senator Nancy Pelosi and fractured her husband's skull with a hammer. Charlie Kirk didn't celebrate it, but he did make some comments wondering why the perpetrator, why this assailant was being held on bail in Pelosi's town, and even suggested that he was hoping that some amazing patriot would bail the assailant out of jail and ask him some questions.
And why is he still in jail? Why has he not been bailed out? By the way, if some amazing patriot out there in San Francisco or the Bay Area wants to really be a midterm hero, someone should go and bail this guy out. I bet his bail's like $30,000 or $40,000. Bail him out and then go ask him some questions. I wonder what his bail is. They're going after him with attempted murder, political assassination, all this sort of stuff. I'm not qualifying it. I think it's awful. It's not right. But why is it that in Chicago, you're able to commit murder and be out the next day? Why is it that you're able to trespass, second-degree murder, arson, threat of public official, cashless bail? This happens all over San Francisco, but if you go after the Pelosi's...
Now, I don't know what Charlie Kirk was getting at with these comments any more than I know what Kimmel was getting at with his. They were both speculating about the perpetrator of political violence right after they perpetrated it. In 1968, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated for his ideas. But that tragedy did not stop Charlie Kirk from choosing Dr. King's birthday to announce, to declare, that Dr. King was not worthy of a federal holiday.
I wanted to make sure that, after that conversation, we talk about the positives. And then we also get into some of the other implications of this. We're a truth-seeking show. But I can say declaratively, this guy is not worthy of a national holiday. He is not worthy of godlike status. In fact, I think it's really harmful.
Folks, Charlie Kirk's public persona did not hold his tongue. He didn't whisper around the grieving. He didn't tiptoe around the controversies. He said that the Justice Department should be unleashed full force against the Democratic Party. He said that Joe Biden, the President Joe Biden, should be executed as a traitor. He said that conservatives in America should arm themselves in preparation for a violent revolt against the government to stave off some impending tyrannical crackdown on the conservatives of America. Folks, Charlie Kirk was the guy who said what he's going to say. He even offered a microphone to people he knew were going to disagree with him so that he could debate them live. Folks, Charlie Kirk was a quintessential information warrior in the gladiatorial arena of idea exchange. He pulled no punches, no holds barred. He called for the prosecution of every liberal politician you've heard of, and a few you probably haven't, their donors included. He called for the firing of liberal professors. He called for the canceling of his rivals by turning their sponsors against them. He called them vermin, swine, maggots, demons. But what he did not do, what I can find no record of him saying, is that someone should pick up a rifle and shoot a liberal for speaking their mind. That I cannot find. I'm recording this on September 23rd, 2 days after Charlie Kirk's memorial, which was held in a stadium in Glendale, Arizona, attended by his grieving family, along with tens of thousands of other supporters, such as the President of the United States. And on this day, I say unto you that Charlie Kirk was an obnoxious, blowhard, rage-baiting shock jock. And you might think that because I'm saying this so soon after the man's murder, that I am an obnoxious, blowhard, rage-baiting shock jock. And that is your right to think that and to say it. Can't you see? This is the entire point. In the name of God and all of the fallen American heroes, can't you see this is what we fought for all along? I mean, we can agree that the public persona that was Charlie Kirk was an information warrior. That was his profession.
What is your profession?
Influencers like him practice their craft in the arena of public discourse. And when the gladiators, the intellectual gladiators, have crossed their pins with each other in front of America while America cheers for their favorites, when the intellectual, verbal conflict is done, we go to the polls and we choose the leaders in whom we entrust the authoritative power of government. That's America. And for this assassin to sneak through the shadows, creeping through the tree line, to snipe at a heavyweight fighter while he sits on his stool in the ring under the lights, it's spineless. It is weak. It is cowardly. We can agree on that, can't we? Why then should we not agree that it is just as weak, just as spineless, just as cowardly to run to the polls and elect a leader who will wield the power of government to disqualify the fighters you don't like? Jimmy Kimmel wasn't running for an authoritative office of government power any more than Charlie Kirk was. They fought with words. Let them. I'm nobody special. This is Free Splain.